Hey folks, this is Tyler from the Music City Murder podcast. Thanks for joining. This is going to be a non-episode. I'm normally scripted, I do research, and I won't be doing that this time. I'm just going to talk for a few minutes about what happened last week at Covenant Church here in Nashville. And kind of the intersection between true crime, the podcast, and real life. And I don't have any, illusions that what I do is not real life, and that no case before this has, been fake or not real life. But there's, I think, a very specific kind of tragic element to what happened last week that kind of precludes me from doing an episode this time. And facts are still being gathered, and families are still grieving, and I just didn't think it'd be right to release an episode in the wake of it. And you can question that and say that, it could bring into question, the podcast itself and the motives for the podcast and all that, because this is what we're here for, right? It's true crime. But I've decided not to have an episode this week. Instead, just release kind of a rambling, like a ramble cast about my thoughts on everything, and just an overall picture of how the podcast is going to move forward. There will be new episodes of Music City Murder, just not this week. I couldn't, in good conscience, do research and release an episode based on what happened. And just to let you behind the curtain a little bit, my day job is as a teacher. I'm an educator. I've been an educator for about 13, 14 years now. And I am not kind of equipped to deal and process everything right now, I think, to the best of my ability. And this is not a rare occurrence in America. I don't think that I'm speaking out of turn by saying that we have a lot of school shootings. It's just that most of them feel so distant geographically. So when one happens almost quite literally in your backyard, it's odd and changes how you think about things. And I am not personally affiliated with Covenant and don't know anyone there. My wife does, but I still feel an obligation to let the jets cool down a little bit before embarking on another episode. Probably just for a couple of weeks till, everyone has time to kind of get through the darkest part of this. But I just didn't feel comfortable. And I hope you understand. And we'll be back for the next episode. But I'm just not in a headspace where I think I can talk about true crime right now. Based on everything I've seen and read, and as a teacher, you see all these school shootings, and you just think, like, that's not going to happen to us. That's not going to happen to me. Those things, it's almost like they're fictional, even though they're not. I know they're not. I don't mean to belittle the experience of hundreds of families across the nation, but you just, I think, convince yourself that it's such a lightning strike in minuscule event that it just will never happen to you. And it didn't happen to me. I'm not going to make this about me and put myself into this story. But it happened a few miles from where I work, and a few miles from where I used to live, and right around the corner from where a friend of mine lives. And it just, there is no illusion of safety anymore. I feel less safe as a teacher now than I did 8 days ago. And that's just the reality. Some sort of glass has been shattered when it comes to my role as a teacher. Being yanked out of teaching a class full of students to be told that there was an active shooter in a school, people were dead, they got the person, and it was right across, a few miles away. It just changes things. And I'm sure that things will be fine, and I'm trying to find solace and trying to find comfort in the fact that these are rare events, and rarely do they happen in the same place, in the same city, to the same population. But I don't have confidence in that idea. I feel more vulnerable now than I did 8 days ago. I feel weaker than I did 8 days ago. And that's just the truth. Because I've never been one to be put off by doing, say, active shooter drills. I've never been traumatized by it. Because I've always thought of it, as not unnecessary, but as just a matter of course in today's America. That it's just precaution for the sake of precaution to make people feel better about it, because it's just not going to happen. Right? You never think it's going to happen. I didn't. I never was afraid of going to school. I was never afraid of pulling into the driveway and walking into the building. But that illusion has been shattered. And I still don't think that there's a great probability that something will happen. But all of the places where I felt safe no longer feel safe. And I know that that nowhere is safe. And there's no way to keep yourself safe if something like that happens. You just have to hope for the best. And I am grateful to Metro Nashville, to the police department, to the fire department for acting so quickly. I know if you pay attention to true crime, you probably saw what happened in Uvalde in Texas, and that was unacceptable. And people lost their jobs as they should have over that. And I think that the several officers who acted in conjunction last week are heroes. And that not everyone is that heroic. I am not that heroic. I don't think I'm someone who, if you gave a gun, would be able to stop a shooter, an active shooter in a building. And I don't know. It's certainly changed the way I think about the podcast and true crime a little bit. Not trying to be melodramatic, not trying to be dramatic. Certainly not trying to make this about myself. But then again, I'm doing a podcast where I'm talking about me and my role in all of this, but it just has me thinking about things in a different way. And my hope is to be back in 2 weeks with an episode about true crime that completely distances itself from what happened last week. And maybe at some point in the distant future, I'm trying to piece something together. Maybe it will give me some comfort and the people who listen to the podcast some comfort to hear about what happened and know the facts in the case. We're still sort of sorting through the ashes of everything. And if you're not from Nashville, this will probably just sound like another school shooting. And it's probably not something that affects you. And I get it. Up until last week, I treated every school shooting the way most people treat car crashes on the interstate. That sort of car crash syndrome where you want everyone to be okay, but you also want to slow down to look. And I didn't want more to happen. I wish it had would never happen again. I was a senior in high school when I was a junior in high school when Columbine happened. I was finishing up my junior year. And I had no idea that it meant that things would change forever. I think the Paducah, Kentucky shooting had happened, but they seemed like a couple of strange, otherworldly events. Like aliens landing. Like that 1941 production of War of the Worlds. Or whenever it was. And I thought that would be it, and it just seems that it's just happened and happened and happened again. Parkland, Columbine, Virginia Tech, Uvalde, Newtown. As a human being, I wanted to stop. As a teacher, I wanted to stop. As a parent and a husband, I wanted to stop. I don't know. And I know that this creeps ever so slightly into the realm of politics, and my show is apolitical. You can probably guess my politics by listening to it, but that's beside the point. But this is something that I just don't get it. I don't get why there isn't the political will to do something about it. I don't get why we can't do something. I mean, our Tennessee representative said we're not going to fix it. In the most demonstrable terms. I just don't get it. And I know this show is meant to be a way of getting away from reality for a bit by studying true crime and listening to something that's off the wall. And I try to find really interesting cases to give you, but this is the reality. I'm acknowledging it. And I'm going to take a couple weeks off and have a new episode. And in that time, hopefully let everyone heal a little bit and get some perspective, and hopefully you are engaging in some self-care and do what you can. Do what's in your heart with this kind of situation, whether it's call your government officials, representatives, congresspeople, senators, governors, whoever. If you want to donate to people, donate. But I feel like it's time to do something. So, enough of this. I won't subject you anymore. I only expected this to be about 5 minutes, so I'm going to sign off. Just letting you know that there will be a new episode, but nothing this week. I'm taking this week off, and this will count as the episode, and I hope that you're okay, and if you're not, that you will be okay, and we'll be back with another episode of Music City Murder sometime soon. Thanks for listening, and if you made it this far, thank you, and I hope everybody's doing all right. All right, that's it.